Hey guys, I'm going to try to break down that monstrous 20-minute long or whatever it is video on the website that goes over kind of all of the different components and kits, the installation process of them, and just break them into separate kits. Those that just buy some kits and leave others behind, that's great. So you don't have to plow through all of that. Plus those are getting old, so here's some updates on it. So here's the current tail assembly kit that you get. They used to be to where you assemble them, not anymore. We do all of the assemble work. This guy here, it is not coming out of that braided cable. The way that we designed that in there, there's an inverted wedge chamber in there, and so as we put the epoxy in there and set those in a jig, as it cures, it would have to literally rip out that plastic, which is a very rubbery type nylon plastic. It's not going anywhere. If it does, we will definitely make it right for you, because I'm not worried about that coming out. I've actually glued two of these together and pulled as hard as I could, and I could not get them to come apart. So be very rest assured you've got a good piece there. And then this here is just designed, there's a bunch of holes on the bottom side. That's just to grab the epoxy or hot glue or whatever you're wanting to glue that in with. So there's a little bit more mechanical stuff going on there to grab onto. And then we're going to use these holes as kind of alignment pieces here that I'll show you in a minute. Anyway, this can be, it's a little bit of a booger to snake through. Sometimes it goes through really easy. There have been some people, instead of trying to fit this through up into that wooden anchor point that we're going to try to fit that into here, I guess over here, they actually run a string or a small cable down this way, let the gravity drop it down. You can even have a little weighted plumb bob oil on it, pull it out there, tie that to the cable, and then pull the cable up through there. And that's great. I haven't done that yet, but several people have told me similar situations like that to where it's worked really well with them. So kudos to them for those ideas. I'll just show what is the way that I've done it, and you can see whether it works or not for you. But we're just trying to get this, once again, up through there. So I'm gonna, in order for me to be able to see it, you're just gonna have to trust that I'm doing it, and I'll show you afterwards. But we're controlling it from this end, and we're just trying to align that cable to where it goes up through that plastic piece. And sometimes some are more onward than the others because the cable needs to be pulled back out and moved, bent a little bit, not kinked bent, but just moved a little bit to where its natural swoop is in a different position. So this one looks like it's going to be pretty friendly, and just move the back side around. I guess I need to show you. See, I'm just moving this back side around here in order to get it to move up here, and with any luck, there we go. There's the cable through, moving a little bit more, and there's the sleeve. So now I've got both the cable and the sleeve that goes through there. So like I say, it's not a big deal. You just got to be a little bit patient there. And one thing that we need to remember is once we seat this in, once this is glued all into the exact position where we need to make sure to go back and epoxy this sleeve where it's running into that metal ring or wooden ring. That needs to be epoxied in, because just like a gear changing cable on a bicycle, both ends, you can have flex in the middle, it doesn't matter, but both ends need to be anchored down in order for that sleeve, in order for that cable not to be able to take advantage of the slop in between. If the two ends are anchored, then you're good. So we're going to definitely anchor this side down, make sure that that is anchored back in there too with some hot glue or CA or epoxy or whatever tickles your tummy. Back in there, and make sure not to get it on the cable as well. Okay, so now we're going to put this side in. This side, put this all the way back like that. We want this to be as tight of a piece as we can in order to slip it through here, because it is a tight fit. So we're just going to push it through there. I usually hold that piece right there and just push, 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 and there we go. It's in there. Let me flip this around. So it's back up in here right now. Get it down there. What we're trying to do initially is to create a trace line so that when we put our adhesive in there, we know exactly where to hold it as it's curing. And so if I was to grab this cable, which is now right there, now I've got the control line to be able to move this around. And what I wanted to do is to line this up, pull it down, and line it up to where when I pull it all the way down to the bottom, showing my face instead of the work, like that. So the cable's pulled all the way tight, and then as I push it up through, see how it's basically traveling right through that arc We don't want it at an angle to where it starts at the bottom and then kicks out, you know, at one side or the other of the arc, where we can basically see that travel all the way through there. And as it's bottomed out at the bottom, the cable's all the way pulled, we are basically at the bottom of our little arc open slotted thing there, like that. Okay, and once again, make sure it can get all the way to the top. So once we're happy with that, then we can put this down, take a pencil, and trace that arc right there. And then these holes, I usually use those as reference points too, where I'll make a little hash or a little tick mark coming off away from those holes. And so that when I put that back on and I'm holding it, waiting for it the epoxy to cure, I can make sure it's not only on the arc, but it's not rotating wrong on the arc, that it's exactly positioned with those hash marks with those holes. I usually you can just slide it to the top like that, put your epoxy or your hot glue or whatever. If you're going to do hot glue, you need to work a little bit quicker, and then just slide this as best as you can kind of over the top of the epoxy so you don't push it all down out of the way. Get it all aligned with the line that you just created and hold it there until that's cured. Then you're ready to go. Now that's when you use that the epoxy or adhesive or CA or whatever you want in there in order to lock in that side. And then we are ready to rock and roll. On this cable, I can show you, how this cable here, how it gets hooked into the to the servos and stuff when we go in through that kit. So that system's worked really well for me. I'm not saying it's the only way. You can put the servo right back here, like Dynaflite suggests in the instructions. I've heard some of the servos are having a hard time getting in there and still having the cover plate go over, or having a long enough throw arm to get a long throw on this. I've never tried it myself. I just heard of those concerns when I initially made my own, and so I decided to try to come up with something different, and it's worked well, so I haven't turned back. But anyway, if you have any further questions, or if there's an area there that was vague that I didn't explain very well, give me a buzz, give me a call, email me, whatever else, and I will be glad to help out as best as I can. Thanks, guys.